Welcome back, y'all. I need a little bit of a break, okay? I need a break, but I'm here. I'm back. I have some thoughts. Let's have a conversation. Make sure if you are in the chat, you're watching this video, tell me where you're watching from, okay? How are you kind of exhaling, touching grass, going outside? I hope not. The season is over, but there's still some deep conversations to have from a therapist perspective. All right. So make sure you tap in, you hit that like, you subscribe, join the membership. This week we're having a members only live on Friday. Okay. So you want to be a part of the crew. You don't want to have that FOMO girl. But looking at Love Island, can Black women just exist? Okay, can we exist? Can we thrive? Are we allowed to have joy, to be the focal point, to be main characters? Okay, because oftentimes in these reality shows, we see how Black women are put to the side. You are supposed to be furniture, you're supposed to be a support system. Okay, and Love Island renewed conversations about racial biases in dating, not only just in dating, I think in reality TV. Just how we navigate this space, and we have to always think about how the world will perceive us, what they're thinking. Whereas I feel like the mother folks don't gotta think about that. And throughout this season, we have seen post, pre, during season that there has just been such a Black women are not enough, a double blind stereotype. Okay, Shelly was labeled too aggressive, loud, jealous, while Landria was painted as too quiet and boring, showing that we can't just be. You're either too much or not enough. Okay. And these are classic examples of what's that M word? Let me know in the comments. You know that M word I'm talking about, where Black women are forced into a narrow window of accepting that. Can we be really accepted? Hmm? I feel like we are often punished for both confidence and silence. And I think Shelley and Alandria show both sides of that spectrum. You're too quiet, being a slow burner, but then Shelley having confidence was still too much. And as a therapist, I see how these labels create internalized self-doubt as a Black woman, to shrink ourselves and to activate fawning, our people-pleasing tendencies. Okay. I saw that with Shelley. I saw that with Alandria. And I also saw that a little bit with Chris. Okay. How we have to function and move differently. We have to, because there's always going to be somebody out there telling us, somebody always looking from a distance, watching what they doing, what they saying. Okay. Oh no, they can't be happy. Joy. Oh no. Okay. And I think often these microaggressions were disguised as constructive criticism. So Les, in the last couple days, we had this, Time magazine piece come out. Angela, who was a health and wellness editor. Oh, notice how it says at the time or at time. Okay. I think it's interesting that this article was written by somebody else. That's what I'm gonna say, by somebody else. Pay attention to that also, the narrative here. The narrative from somebody who was not within our community telling us constructively. And they talked about reflective defensiveness. Now, it started off well. It did. Trying to educate. But then we got here to toxic interruptions. And though they tried to, after the controversy, sweep it up, let's edit this, let's do a correction, let's delete that part we said about Shelley. But the internet is quick. They think they quick. Oh, You're not. Okay. Toxic interruptions. Okay. For 6 weeks, the show gave us millions of people something to talk about. We still giving y'all something to talk about, including how the Islanders talk to each other. Forget mindless summer entertainment. It was a lesson in how to not communicate. Like y'all could took so many angles, so many examples. But who do they focus on? Shelley. Toxic interruptions, for example, interrupting apologies. Who could forget the time Huda tried to apologize to Shelley after taking things a step too far in the heart rate challenge? A step from what I talked about in my recaps, she put the Gucci in his face. And they couldn't show it on TV. They added to make it look like they added to where she was getting up and I think grabbing his arm to get up or something. But I knew what it was. They couldn't even really show when she was making the clap in Chris' face because it was too much. Oh, but Shelly, it's on Shelly. The black woman has to take accountability. Okay. Bloggers and fans often use coded language like bad attitude, not wife material, are always starting drama, terms that we see rarely towards non-black contestants. Peep game. The subtle jabs are racialized microaggressions that chip away at self-esteem and reinforce white center beauty and behavior standards. And that's what this is telling us. Shelley cut her off mid-sentence, telling her to save it. Did you watch the show? Which prevented closure and heightened the tension whipping around the island. So we're not going to focus on what Huda did. We're going to focus on the response from Shelley. Now, I myself felt like Shelley could have communicated it better. Okay. She could have said in that moment, I don't want to talk right now. I'm just not in a space. Yes, we could talk about in a constructive way of how each of these people, not just one, if we're going to talk about communication and how not to communicate, we need to focus on everybody as a whole. All of the islanders engaged in poor communication, low emotional intelligence, but there's a heightened sense of awareness, unawareness when you really think about it. I would just say hyper focused narrative on Shelley. And I wonder what it is about these bloggers and Time Magazine. Oh, but no, we got to take it a step back, right? We got to take it a step back because it didn't start with Time Magazine, y'all. BuzzFeed. A white knuckle sandwich for Shelley. What I make? A bowl of fruit. Why is it that a black woman has to be punched in the face? Why is it that the world continues to be hyper focused on the black woman on these reality shows? Does it make you feel insecure? And why is it that these, I feel like PWI, bloggers, establishments, institutions, why is this behavior okay? Is there really any true accountability? But they want to label it as constructive criticism. Do y'all understand constructive criticism? And if that's what you're trying to do, why only do it towards the black women? Why not do it towards Huda? Why not do it with Sierra? Where are all the think pieces on Sierra? And what she said, the words she used. Why is it that over and over again, oh yeah, we the ones. We the ones that people want to be like. It shows us over and over again we are not capable in their eyes of leveling up. I got let you know, girl, Shelly, you're not that girl. Landry, you're not that girl. The media has it always, no, they're up here. Come down here. Let's humble you with a knuckle sandwich. And the fact that y'all were who checked this? Don't y'all have editors, reviewers, handlers? BuzzFeed was comfortable disrespecting Shelly and Ace openly because y'all fueled the hate train for too long. Imagine joking about a black woman being punched in the face. BuzzFeed thought it was okay to run a joke about committing violence. Let's read that again. A joke about committing violence against Shelly because you bird brains ran around calling her a bully. Now it says Shelly has been nothing but calm, measured, respectful all season. Black women have to be silent, doormats to avoid the aggression. Now I do think there were some moments we can reflect on where communication could have been better. Okay. That Shelly had some moments, just like everybody, to be honest, had poor moments. But they're also on TV 24, I don't want to say 24/7, but they're being recorded pretty much 24/7, except for when they sleep. But then Ian is like, yeah, Ian in there looking at them while he sleep too. So not really a moment of peace. But also Black women are forced to be respectful, to placate the needs of other people, to do the emotional labor. Because if I don't, I'm going to get doxxed. I'm going to get my account, as we saw Olandria get her account stolen. The reason my vote is will always be with Shelly is this. First, the hate train. Then brands will open to share that their out of pocket takes. Like a knuckle sandwich, that's a threat. And no, they didn't do the same thing for other people. No, they did not. And also, when you look at the followership, looking at the numbers, Hudda is almost, I think somebody said, I think maybe 3.5 million, 4 million. Shelly's still at 1 million. And it just shows you once again the biases. And I think at times people have subconscious bias that they bring to the surface and have conscious bias, which we're seeing. You're seeing, I think, once again, like, the renewed just disdain for Black women dating. And we saw them run the please respect our islanders, don't attack their families. A lot of discussion I feel like needs to come to the surface about desirability of Black women and darker skinned people, both on and off air. We don't talk about it enough. Misogyny, racial bias, colorism are escapable for Black women on these reality shows. Notice how there can only be more than what, 2, maybe 3 Black men on these shows. Imagine we had Coco, Olandria, and Shelly. And now Coco's on her 15 minutes of fame, doing these podcasts. She was there for this much time. Yet now she is also on the hate train and making negative, disparaging comments about I believe Olandria and Taylor. Chelly and Olandria are both dark-skinned women, receive noticeably less fan praise, like I'm saying, and online support, despite being stunning and emotionally available. That's another point. Out of all the women and men, who were the most emotionally stable, emotionally intelligent ones? Meanwhile, lighter skinned or racially ambiguous women were often romanticized and defended. Sierra, Hutta, even when their behaviors mirrored or exceeded the same traits. Look at the numbers. It shows that there's a deeper conversation about colorism and the continued devaluation of dark skinned women, which is both a mental health and societal equity issue. I agree. In a statement, Shelley's team said BuzzFeed was hinting at DV, since the male contestants typically make breakfast for the women that they're pushing, that they're pursuing on the show. It is not only disturbing, disgusting, and unacceptable, it is a harsh reality that implicit bias can be rooted in anti-blackness, misogyny, prejudice, violence, etc., etc. Um, Shelley's team said on an Instagram post. After swift backlash, BuzzFeed deleted the original post, replacing the knuckle sandwich with pancakes. The account noted in the caption that one of the jokes in its initial post missed the mark. So saying that you want to punch a black woman with a white fist is a joke. It missed the mark. Was that the apology also? Was the apology our joke missed the mark? We referenced a knuckle sandwich in our slide about Shelley, and we thought it would be cheeky. It landed with racial tones that we didn't intend. Do y'all think before y'all post this stuff? Shelley's team called out BuzzFeed for releasing a second post with a condescending message in the tone of no accountability, no accountability. Yeah, where's the accountability? Are they gonna lose any, followers? They're not. Okay. Team Shelley will not tolerate this level of disrespect, anti-blackness, prejudice, and misogyny. Furthermore, we will not accept the narrative in which Shelley deserves violence. No person deserves violence, not Shelley or anyone else of the Islanders. Do you think there's going to be any real accountability? We see over and over again how this behavior is okay. And now all you gotta do is come on and let's just change a little bit of the wording. Let's just put a pancake instead. We're gonna still post the same thing, just put a pancake. Yeah, yeah. Oh my God. It just never amazes me. Not to mention the way the fans have been reacting too about all the things happening. It mirrors where we are in society. The online backlash wasn't just about Love Island, it mirrors how Black women are policed in real time and how they express emotions, take up space, or pursue love. The society, the media, bloggers would love to continue to push a narrative that Black women are not lovable. Nobody will want you. We already have the residualness of the Kevin Samuels, within the Black community. When he died, he left the door open for people to run through the door and take his spot and come to the service with like, oh, I've been thinking these things. I can say them now. Yeah, I can say them now. And so as a therapist, I have clients who feel like as they're getting older, they're not desirable because they don't have kids. They might be almost 40 and not married. And society tells me I'm not desirable. And I often ask them, pay attention to what you are watching on your feed, the negative dating stories, the viral things we see men say and do in the store, trying to approach women. As a therapist, I name this as relational trauma on a mass scale. When Black women see themselves publicly torn down, it reinforces fear that they too will never be loved without conditions. Let me read that again. They too will never be loved without conditions. The love I receive is conditional. Not only have I learned that from my mother and my father, I have also learned that from society over and over again. In addition, there has been like a hypervisibility and invisibility. Let's go into that a little bit deeper. But if you haven't already, like the video. Okay? Let me know in the comments what feelings are this is bringing up for you. Chelly was hypervisible when she expressed frustration with Huda. Lean to backlash, while Landria was treated as invisible or not memorable. Because what? They weren't willing to be into the peer pressure of giving up their bodies. Notice that. Chelly and Olandria are two people this season who did not give up the coochie to keep these men flying after them. Notice that. But they're the ones that society has been hyper focused on. All we saw was some of these other people laid up in the bed, laid up on the couch. And this behavior to me reflects the painful experience of simultaneously hypervisibility and erasure, where Black women are seen only when convenient for criticism, but never truly heard or humanized. We will always be tangible objects on these reality shows. It's very rare that we come out on top and we find love. You even see on shows such as Love is Blind, the Black couples, when they come out on the end and they find love, they get married, they're in happy relationships, they're erased. If you're not dramatic, you're not doing the most, acting ignorant, screaming, yelling, being toxic on all these platforms, you're suppressed. We have to do the most to stay visible. If we don't, we are invisible. I have learned that. I have seen that in my own content. If I'm not toxic, if I'm not, some of these people, E. Kane, the Krishans, even when you do see like creators who are Black, trying to give you healthy content, trying to give you content with a message, they often have to do the most. Acting crazy, swinging their heads, doing something to keep your attention. Because I can't sit there and just give you the information because you'll scroll up. But someone who doesn't look like me can sit there, smile, and probably get like 1 million followers, subscribers. But I gotta do the most. Okay, I gotta do the most. Let me take a breath. Let me take a breath. But we see how there's this constant microaggressions online, and the scrutiny leads to the impact on mental health and identity formation. Now, that's an important piece, identity formation, because these islanders went to the Casa, they went to Casa and the Villa with an identity, cut off from the world. But now we are post-season. And I am wondering how the influence of media will impact this new identity in the formation. The constant scrutiny, especially with Nick and Alandria. Is it real? Is it fake? Them kissing at Disneyland. Oh, y'all doing it up for the cameras, huh? Y'all really trying to make us believe y'all in a real relationship, huh? But I don't see the same scrutiny for Huda. You know, Pepe went home to see his family, his fur babies. Huda, why you didn't go home to your daughter? No scrutiny though. No one's paying attention to that. All we see her is in the background of Nick and Landry's live videos. We see her doing TikToks with the cast, but you're a mom, a mommy, a mamacita. Go home to your daughter. But where's the scrutiny? Where's the conversation on that? Instead, I've seen the hyperfixation of, oh, look at Chelly wearing her real hair. Oh, look at her in her real hair. Why haven't we heard from Ace and Chelly? Okay. Is Alandria really into Nick? Those have been the conversations I have had. And the last thing I want to talk about is also Chris. Chris in that last scene, let me see if I can find it. With Huda. I thought in some ways he didn't have a choice but to act a certain way. Imagine if he had went off on her. He screamed, he yelled. He picked her up and then dropped her in the water by accident. Oh, he dropped her on purpose. He also has to acquiesce and act a certain way to not be deemed the big black scary man. But the thing about Chris and Huda, they do reflect where we are with Gen Z dating. It's a shit show. Okay. Now a black man, I don't feel like he has felt the same microaggressions that we've seen with Chelly and Alandria. But I do feel like he also has to walk carefully and navigate carefully, choose his words, because you don't want the Huda hive coming after you. You really don't. Do you guys think that there will ever be a time where Black women can be on these shows and find true joy without scrutiny? And I saw this photo the other day that we need to talk about also. Hopefully I can find the photo. It was a photo of the production team. I probably can't find it. But I noticed how in the photo, there weren't any Black people. There weren't enough Black women on the production team. Where did I see it at? It's probably somewhere, but if you guys haven't saw the photo, yeah, I can't find the photo. I want to talk about it a little bit, but just how in the photo there's not enough women in the photo and not enough women of color. There's a couple sprinkled in, but the production team also shows you just how there's a lack of being seen. I think if we saw more Black people, Black women on that production team in that photo, I think things would be different. I don't know where I saw that though. But people have been talking about that also. but I probably won't be able to find it, to be honest with you. But yeah, when you look at that photo that's been going around, um, it also shows you just how there's a lack of us. And I think if we saw more people behind the scenes, I think the way we would be portrayed would be a lot different. Like who's in the green room? Do they look like me? Do they represent me? Do we have a shared experience? Can they understand my experience? Can they? But throughout the season, we've seen a lot of microaggressions. And I'm wondering, post-season, as we just continue to talk about identity formation, how much increased anxiety and imposter syndrome. Didn't we see Kendall last season afterward? Didn't he have a little bit of a breakdown? We see the hypervigilance in relationships, the struggles with authenticity and self-exploration. This enforces the Black woman trap, where vulnerability isn't allowed, especially in romantic relationships. Now, I also remember, didn't they say they had therapists on set? I want to pull that up. I thought I saw somewhere. Oh, okay, here we go. Hopefully it's not behind a paywall. They say they have a mental health team, y'all. It says on top of producers, managers, oh, they have HR. The show provides a duty of care representative, two on-site, two psychologists and a full-time welfare manager who oversees the daily care of participants and addresses any concerns and questions contestants might have. Is two enough? Do y'all think maybe Huddle was getting some therapy behind the scenes? Any of these cast members, prior to being casted on the show, participants will go through multiple rounds of assessments with one of the psychologists or better understand their background and current mental health state. Deb from season 4 said that each contestant is required to get a letter from their doctor giving them the okay to go on the show. Anybody can write you up a letter. I can write you up a letter saying, yeah, girl, you've been my client for 2 years. Yeah, go on that show and get you a check. Once somebody officially becomes an Islander, they are assigned a psychologist who will see them throughout their time in the villa. Do y'all believe that? Deb also goes on to explain that they have to talk about their medications to producers as well. Once you're in the villa, producers will take all your meds and oversee distribution of them daily. See, now this is something I've heard is like, depends on the show. And now we can probably have a whole different conversation about medications and things like that, a whole separate video and mental health. I'll probably do that. Okay. But do you think things will ever change? Do you think that we can go on these shows and it not be hyper fixate on us? Okay. And like, I'm also wondering about the platform's posts, doing all these podcast posts so soon. You didn't see no Amaya on Call Her Daddy, the Today Show. Has she done one other one at the time of this video? Has she done another one? No Time to Breathe. No Time to Breathe. Okay. And how these podcasts who are not for us, by us, have us come on, and then as soon as we leave, they talk shit about us. As we saw on Chicks in the Office, I think even on the Bow Files, once Taylor and Clark left, weren't they kind of talking a little bit of shit about them? Okay. I am waiting for and hoping that when it comes to Chelly and Ace, they were going on a Black platform. I'm waiting for the Jesse Wu. I want to see them be interviewed by somebody who looks like us, who's for us. You saw Nick go on Chicks in the Office, and they never really supported him throughout the show. I don't even think they really support his relationship with Landria. It's more like, okay, this is what the world is talking about, so let's get on it too. Let's make some money off of it. Do they care about him as a person? Do they really care about the relationship? But everybody wants the clicks. Everybody wants the clicks. Okay, I don't think anyone is really there for or having guests come on because they really care about them. And so far, I've only seen a lot of these cast members go on these white platforms. We need to give our community the interview, the exclusive. Okay? But of course, what do you guys think? Will things ever change? Why do you feel like on these shows, audiences become hyper fixated on the Black women? Janae, Serena, Chelly, Olandria. Will it change? Okay, well, let's have a conversation. Let's discuss it. Let's get in the chat and let me know your thoughts. Make sure you hit that like, you subscribe, and let's continue this conversation. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.